Hey everybody, welcome back to the CAF Plus channel. I'm wedged in half the screen. Here we go. Let me fix that. So we've got Topper Helmers is going to be on with us this evening, and I think many people recognize the image that I used in the intro graphic there from Adam Hughes. Are they big enough for you, fanboy? Cover sketchbook. I've got mine is sitting over there somewhere. I don't know. I've got like 6 or 7 of Adam's sketchbooks, but I haven't dug them out in a while. But we'll get to talk a little bit about that. I know that Topper has quite a few pieces by Adam in his CAF gallery, among other fine artists. So let me bring Topper in and get this show started. Hey, Topper, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm good. Well, you asked me before we got started. How did you get on my radar? I mean, it's hard to you've had a calf gallery for over 21 years, so I always knew you were out there. But you're in a lot of the you're very vocal and kind of share a lot of stuff in the original comic card collector Facebook group that I'm in. And I think the same day I was seeing a post from you in that, I happened to stumble into your calf gallery, and I thought, here's somebody I don't believe I've ever met, and I don't believe we have, and somebody who'd be great on the channel because you've got an art background and you like a lot of the art that I like. So I thought it'd be fun to talk to you.
I think we're a dying breed at that point.
Because we've been on CAF for so long, or because we like things like Frank Frazetta and other creators.
Yeah, I think it's a little of both.
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right. I mean, I don't. Well, not about being a dying breed, but it just means there's not enough of us out there. But at the same time, I don't know. I think the last time I looked, we still have about 1,000 people logging into Comic Art Fans that created their accounts within the first couple of years. That's pretty good for a site that's been around longer than Facebook. So you're one of those 1,000.
Nice. I didn't realize I was. When did it actually start?
It started in 2003,
All right. So
February.
I wasn't too far behind.
No, no, you joined in September 2005. So
Okay.
anybody in the first couple of years is, I'm not going to say you're ancient like the rest of us, but yeah, you've been around a long time and still here, still posting, and that's great. Now, I got to ask you, I'll be in the basement. Did you make that T-shirt for yourself?
No, my studio's in the basement, in the basement of our house. And for my last birthday, one of my brothers gave me this shirt. I mean, most of the people who know me really well think that I'm a troll, and my wife just opens the door and throws the food down the steps because all my toys, all my art, all my books, everything's down here. So this is where if I'm left alone, this is where I spend my time.
It looks like a huge space, so not a bad place to work
Well, this is
and
just
spend the
one
day.
room of three. All my bookcases are to my right, and then I've got another room in the back, and then my flat files are in the other half of the basement. So I've got art everywhere, books everywhere, toys everywhere. So
You could almost open your own museum or charge some kind of a ticket price to come down in the basement.
it's really funny that when people who've never been here to my house or my studios, when they come in, that's exactly the mood. Yeah, I mean, whatever you're looking for, I guarantee I could pull it out in a couple minutes. So if you like toys, I can bring them out. If you're looking for games or original art, all you have to do is tell me who you like. Or if you like illustrators, just tell me who you like, and I'll pull out the books. So tear
Well,
sheets, whatever. I'm a collector. Sadly, I'm a collector.
well, that's what we're gonna learn about today. I mean, that was the thing that was interesting going through your CAF gallery was, while you kind of lean towards illustrators, it's, you don't stick to just all the most common illustrators. You have people that, people have been collecting for 30 or 40 years might not think to add to their collections, like a Matteo Scalera piece you pick up in San Diego or whatever. I mean, there's just interesting things in there that made me feel like, it'll be fun talking with you tonight. So how do we get started? I mean, I'm not even sure. Where would you like to start in your collecting thing? You have an IMDb entry. I mean, they're not that easy to get. So you got some notoriety out there. You've worked on some projects as a creator, and you've been collecting for a long time.
I've been collecting since 74. So it's, and, and I'm only sad that I haven't been able to keep everything I ever got my hands on. A lot of times I've been able to upgrade or trade something for something that I wanted even more.
Hmm.
So it's, even though I've been drawing since the 70s, I personally, I hang up very, very little of my own stuff. I want to be influenced by my heroes, Frazetta, Krenkel, Wrightson, Hal Foster, Jeff Jones, Barry Smith, Kaluta, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. So it's, I've got a little of everything that I've ever wanted. So, and then some more that I shouldn't have at all. So
You have some very nice Frazetta pieces. I'll give you that. So it's 74. What was? Do you remember what the first piece of original art was that you picked up?
it would, I was apprenticing under Val Merrick, and the first night that I went to his studio, he worked really late at night. And the desk that he put me at, I was sitting under a little Jeff Jones, a fantasy, a little, the woman was hanging under a sword that he had gotten from Jeff. It was from one of the Amazings. And it was like, oh my God, this was just, I never, it never occurred to me that you could own original comic art.
Hmm.
And the lessons I learned from Val are things I still practice today. I still hunt down a lot of the Brandywine School people, Howard Pyle and Mead Schaefer and N.C. Wyeth, and then that got me into other illustrators. So I'm fairly, I don't know if educated is the word, but influenced heavily by a lot of those guys, a lot of the European guys. And so I offered Val, if I could if he would sell it, and he sold it to me. And then a couple weeks later, Val was going through I call it a Spartan mood. There was clutter everywhere, and he was just throwing stuff out. I mean, as fast as he could, he was just trying to declutter, and that meant a lot of art. And I'm going through the garbage can, pulling out drawings and sketches and pages, and so
You rescued it. You many pieces, huh?
yeah,
That's good. I love Val's work. I mean, he's just such an incredible illustrator, and I don't think I've ever had anything published by him pass through my hands, but I had a lot of just like prelims, figurative works. You could draw a really beautiful female figure. Uh, so that's not a bad person. So what were you doing for Val? I guess why don't we start there?
well, I was in college, and I had met a couple other guys that were into comic books. So they got me into the EC line, and they got me into a lot of early stuff, like early 73, 74.
Hmm.
And so Val was an alumni from the Youngstown State University, and that was where I was in school. And so he was coming to do a talk at one of the English classes. And one of the guys that I was a friend with, Bruce Crislip, goes, "Hey, let's go see Val. We're going to go, and I'm so green and naive at this point. I took a little sketch pad, and after the class, I walked up and said, "Would you be willing to, apprentice? Could I be an apprentice?" And he goes, "Sure." But his hours of drawing was from like 10 at night to 6 or 7 in the morning, which was perfect for me because I was very much a night owl. So I, I, I he was working on the Frankenstein monster at the time for Marvel.
Mhm.
Paul Galassi lived down the street, so we knew Paul. Um, Mike Gustovich was local to the area, so we got to Mike and I got to be good friends. So we would hang out with Val, and I'll tell you a very funny story. Val, after being there 2 or 3 weeks, Val said, "I need some help inking this one, these Frankenstein pages." And so he gave me this page, and all I was supposed to ink was this staircase in the background of these characters. And I put my ruler down and I inked this thing. I was so pleased. I picked up the ruler and I had smeared ink all over the page. I did. Nobody had told me about just putting up, taping a penny to the bottom of the ruler so that you wouldn't do stupid stuff like that. So he never yelled at me. He very patiently, I'm sure used a ton of whiteout to fix it, but it was like somewhere out there's a Frankenstein page that I would love to own that's got a ton of whiteout on. So
I'm gonna be looking for that page now.
I I wish I knew the
Val
number.
Frankenstein staircase.
It would have been later in the run, but I mean, I was sitting there with him one night when he gets the phone call that Vaughn Baudet had died. I was there when he was penciling the cover that Bernie had inked or was going to ink. I mean, so it was an interesting. You'd sit there like a fly on the wall, and I couldn't absorb it fast enough. I learned more from him in one night of how a professional comic artist works than I had learned in 2 years of art school. So it was like, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. So we couldn't grasp the information fast enough.
Sure.
So
So did you grow up in the Youngstown area?
no, my father worked for the Jewish community centers as an athletic director, which was funny because we weren't Jewish, and he just kept getting better and better jobs. So we just moved a lot. So my 4 years in high school were in four different schools in three different states. So the how I had been in comics when early in the much earlier when I was 12, 13, 14. So I still have my complete run of Joe Kubert Enemy Aces and my Joe Kubert Tarzans, and I remember buying Conan 1 when it came out, and I wasn't impressed. It's really kind of funny because I had been reading all the Conan books with the Frazetta covers, and my senior year in high school, I'm sitting in a civics class, and the kid next to me was doing a typical, looking at his book, and inside of the book was Conan 24. And whispered, "When you're done with that, can I see this?" And it was like, this can't be the same artist between issue one and his last issue of Conan. It was like, oh my God, this there was design. This was just stunning. And it was like, I want to be in comics. I want to do this. And it just kind of just fell into place. So,
Well, that's awesome. I mean, so what I got to ask. So what kind of artwork did you pull out of the trash at Val's then? So he's what kind of things would he consider throwing in the trash?
well, one of the pieces that I sent you, the
Hmm.
Valmeric piece was one of those.
Okay.
I mean, he was like a lot of artists that he would do warm ups before he would actually start working. So he would be looking at all kinds of stuff. He would. I learned about a morgue through him. So stuff that I still do today. I still cut up stuff that it's like this was way before computers. So if you were drawing at 3 o'clock in the morning and you needed a picture of a tractor, and you don't, you're trying to be loyal to what a tractor would look like, you've got to go to a morgue. And so he had just files and files and files of. So I still have probably half the files he was throwing away of just figures and action and faces and arms and hands and just people in general. But there was he was doing some prelims for a Sherlock Holmes book he was getting ready to do for Marvel,
Hmm.
and so he had done a bunch of character studies for that. I pulled those out of the trash. There was a couple pages that I long since traded, but the face that I shared with you earlier by Val, sitting on the wall sitting on the wall behind me, that came right out of the garbage can with a big liner, and I was like, Val, can you please sign this for me? And he
And he had no problem doing that.
no, he was very nice about it. I don't know if it was just because it was just being saved or it was leaving the house. So
So Val lived in Youngstown then.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He if I'm trying to remember the names of the roads, but if you went, like I said, Paul Galassi lived around, not too far away. Um, Val had worked with Dan Atkins, and Dan was in Wheeling, West Virginia, so he wasn't too far. That was like 45 minutes south.
Sure.
Peter Craig Russell lived in the Kent area, so that was only 30, 45 miles away. So there was and then um, the what was the studio in out of Cleveland. I mean, so there was a lot of comic strip guys up in the Cleveland area. So what was the name of the Funky Winker Bean? Tom
Oh,
Tom Baddock.
Baddock. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah. Tom's still, I think he's still there. I got a strip from it. I grew up in the Cleveland area myself, and my family is from Youngstown originally. That's why I was kind of curious. I
Oh,
spent
really?
a lot of time in Liberty and Sharon, PA, which is all right in that area.
Okay, Liberty. Did you go to Liberty?
I didn't go to, my mom went to Liberty. My grandparents lived in Liberty, so I was in Liberty every weekend from the time from 1968 until 1986. Every weekend I spent in Liberty.
I was my senior year in high school was in Liberty High School.
There you go. Small world,
It,
right?
it really is.
Yeah, Liberty was great. Very rural. It was like going out in the middle of the country going from Cleveland. But but yeah, that's where my grandparents lived. So it's very fun. Fond memories of Liberty, Ohio. Well, no, that's you're right. That's good, but that's a great nexus of creators during that time period that you got to be around. I mean, Galici's one of my all-time favorite illustrators as well. I mean, just absolutely you know, a style unique to himself. I've always appreciated it, and somebody who I've never owned a piece of art from, but I get to admire a lot on CAF, I guess.
What I one of the biggest mistakes of my life was I'm apprenticing under Val, and Paul was just getting ready to start Saber,
Hmm.
and he had finished his run on Master Kung Fu, and he was looking for help for inking, and he goes, "Can you help me?" And I'm like, "I can't. I was working. I was a student. I was I had a girlfriend. I was apprenticing under Val. It was just like there was no. I had no more free time at all. I mean, I needed a little sleep at some point, and I turned him down, and I've thought about that a million times. That what a stupid thing I ever did. I don't know how much it would have been just inking, probably big black spots in the background, but it would have been a lot of fun to do something like that, and I just didn't do it. So
Well, I'm sure you married the girl, so you ended up ahead, right? I mean, at the end of the day.
I didn't marry that girl, but
Okay. Uh, well, you gotta have priorities when you're young. I mean, but I get it. I mean, who would think the importance that Galacy would have on comic book illustration? That you just never know, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you think there's ample opportunity probably to get to work with some of these creators, and then you don't know. But no, well, I think it's kind of ballsy, to go and ask to apprentice. I mean, I assume you never made the mistake again with the ruler when you were inking, right? That was a one and done.
no, my rulers, all my everything that I use a straight edge has pennies or dimes taped to the bottom of them. So that was a lesson I learned one time, and it sunk in. So never did that mistake again.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, I didn't. I know you're on your iPad, so you didn't see some of the comments earlier, but I saw that John Beatty was there and said it's been a while. He gave you a shout out. He's inked a few pages in the past.
I haven't seen John in forever.
John's down here in Florida now, and yeah, I've seen him a few times. I think he goes up to Heroes every now and again, and Little John mentioned that kudos to you for putting together and fulfilling some really nice Kickstarter projects.
Well, thank you. I we used to play the comic museum with Jim Ivey on weekends. There would be a poker game. Oh, that's a different story. But anyway, John would play, and I mean, Pat Broderick was over in Tampa.
Yep,
Uh,
still.
I lived in Orlando or Altamont Springs for about 4 years, and then I took a shot and went up to New York. Pat Broderick walked me through continuity, and I met Neil and walked me into DC, and I got to be in the New Talent Showcase group. So we moved to New York. So, but that feels like a million years ago.
Wow. I mean, what brought you down to Orlando?
Um, I was the complete opposite of collecting art or drawing at all. I knew some people that were doing demographics for Arby's roast beef, which was out of Youngstown. The Raffle brothers were out of Youngstown.
Mhm.
And these guys had connected with them, and literally it was a matter of, at the time, McDonald's was opening a new unit somewhere in the United States every like 3 days. Wendy's like every 3 weeks. Arby's was opening one unit every 9 months. And so they had sold a handful of franchises, and literally these guys would go in, and I learned how to do demographics. So I'd get sent into an area, here's a car, here's where you're staying, and go. And I could tell you anything you wanted to know about a possible site for a future Arby's. Everything from how much kids were going to school within their pockets, to every ordinance and every setback regulation. And I mean, I could tell you anything you wanted to know. So I got sent to St. Louis, and I met people there that were into comics. So, and then I got sent to upper state New York, and I drove all Vermont and half of Massachusetts and all upper state New York. And I wanted to do something different. And I took a shot I took a shot at DC.
Mhm.
So, um, moved to Long Island, and worked for DC for a while. I only had a couple things printed. And then I had my wife at the time had a cousin who was into fine art. And so they would come in for Art Expo New York, which is where all the big art galleries would come in for the year to buy what they were getting for the year. And we would meet them, and they offered me a job, so we moved to Southern California. So I stayed there for, I don't know, a while, and then I started doing some storyboarding around town. Um, and they were making enough money that they were building a house, and they hired a young guy who was a Walt Disney Imagineer, and I'd never heard of Walt Imagineering. And he was telling me that, just like the movies or TV or commercials, they storyboard everything. And so he got me in, and I got hired from Theme Park Productions, which was a small division of WDI. And that was the division. If you see any kind of film work, if you're in a queue line standing at any of the parks and there's a film, that's the division that would do that. And after about 6 months, they didn't know what to do with me, and I got put into show design and started in concept. And after about 2 months of that, I got put on the new Indiana Jones project, and I was the fourth member of that team, and spent the next 2.5 years designing Indiana Jones, the ride in Southern California.
Mhm.
Probably did close to 1,000 drawings and illustrations and storyboards on that. And then that ended, and I went right into Dino Land for Animal Kingdom. So I did 6 months. Everything in Dino Land was mine. I drew the heck out of that. I love dinosaurs. So, and it
Well,
wasn't like,
Animal Kingdom has always been our favorite park down here, and yeah, it's special. And we're finally getting Indiana Jones. The dinosaur ride, they finally closed. What, like at the beginning?
countdown to extinction.
Yes, exactly. I love it. I got to ride it. I think in the last week that it was out there, but it's going to be replaced with the Indiana Jones ride. Finally, I've never been to Disneyland to see that, but
Oh, really?
yeah, have not. I've never been on it.
Well, it's literally the same ride system. So even though that was the only thing I didn't work on for Dino Land, but it was a system I had spent 2.5 years on. So everybody said, "Hey, yeah, you can take credit for that one too."
Well, so what do you do with all the drawings?
Well, 95% of them Disney kept.
Yeah.
I mean, they you work for them, that's theirs. And when I left, when I found out my contract wasn't being renewed after 8.5 years, I found out on a Friday night, and Monday morning I was working at Universal Creative. But my exit interview, I walked into hanging out with Marty Sklar, and he was the head of creative at WDI. And I walked in wearing my Universal name tag, which made him laugh. And I was allowed to take a whopping 10 drawings that had to be approved, that I could put into a portfolio. Everybody else I knew who was working in creative would scan and get copies of everything, and it never occurred to me that I wouldn't be at Disney for the rest of my life.
Right.
So I've been designing theme parks for 36 years all over the world. And when I'd get bored with that, I'd go into animation and do backgrounds and layout. And then I was always doing comic books on the side. So
Well, I had no idea. This is all I mean, I'm a I'm an annual pass holder at both Universal and Disney. I just spent 30 minutes on the phone renewing my family's Disney annual passes because somehow they expired 8 days ago and nobody told me. But no, I this is a wonderful surprise. And that you had a hand in the Extinction Ride is, yeah, Dino Land was always our favorite. It was always disappointing when they, started kind of dismantling it about, a couple years ago in preparation for the changes they were making because, again, Animal Kingdom was just our favorite place to go. We love uh, just all the rides, and the shows there are great too.
what were they going to do with Sue?
With what? I'm sorry.
With Sue, the T-Rex skeleton.
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. Um, I
Where
have
they
no
go, where are they going to put it? I mean, they paid a lot of money to have their hands on
That
that.
thing's huge.
Yeah,
Right. I don't know. That is a very good question. It's like, what do they do with it? I mean, Universal's tearing down that whole Poseidon's Adventure section now, going to be replaced by something else. I mean, it's been shut down for over 10 years. But you think about all the props and things that are there. It's like, where's it all go?
I'm shocked that that lasted that long. It was visually stunning, but
It was beautiful, but not a lot of. I did get to go to that a few times before they closed it, and it just wasn't. There wasn't enough there outside of the restaurant out in front. That was the biggest attraction of the whole area.
I mean, to me, visually, the exterior was just mind blowing. I mean, it felt like you were walking through a Ray Harryhausen film. And then you got into the interior where they had the show, and I was like, oh my god, this is who thought this up?
Right.
It just
I think they knew it was bad too. That's why it didn't they
yeah,
didn't keep it open for very long. Yeah, Alberto mentions the Everest ride. Don't tell me you had something to do with the Everest ride.
no,
Okay. I
no.
was gonna say, because that is my daughter's favorite ride of all time, and she would be in tears knowing that if I was talking to somebody who had anything to do with that ride.
I was out of Disney at that point. At the point that they were building that, I was working for a company called BRC, and we were working on the Presidential Lincoln Library in Springfield, Illinois. So I spent a lot of time on that. I'm all over that museum.
Oh, wow. So you didn't, yeah, you've had a very diverse career. You definitely didn't pigeonhole yourself in any one thing.
I never wanted to be an art director. All I ever wanted to do was draw.
Mhm.
And I got to be really very efficient and very, very fast at what I do. So, I mean, if you came up and said, we're going to design this ride and it's going to be a Dumbo type ride, that's all you'd have to tell me and I'd be off and running. So, my job was concept. So, I came in at the very beginning. I mean, you had an idea, you had people that were thinking about investing in your idea, and my job was to come in and I mean you could read a script and I could read a page to you and you'd go, yeah, okay, I don't see it. My job was to come in and do one or two illustrations that you go, oh, oh, I get it, now I see what you're thinking. So I didn't have to worry about, oh, there's a steel column here and an air conditioning duct over here and an electric outlet. I didn't have to worry about that. I just had to make it looked absolutely amazing and fun and something you wanted to do.
Mhm.
So
Wow. Well, I'm glad you did because we got some fantastic rides and lands out of it. So what did you do with Universal though? I mean, anything that's still out there?
Um, yeah, 2, 3 years ago, the Mario Kart, Mario Brothers, Haunted Mansion, that whole thing. I did a whole bunch of the galleries on that.
You did not.
I did, and the thing is that I couldn't tell anybody for like, I mean, I've signed so many NDAs that you couldn't tell anybody that you did it. And I was going up to a small convention up in Madison, um, and that morning they announced the whole park. And it was like, I did that. I worked on that. Gallery after gallery after room after room, and that the big volcano water park. I did a bunch of illustrations on that. Um,
I've never made. It's the one park I haven't gone to is the water park.
Harry Potter, I didn't do anything for any of the theme parks, but I designed a whole bunch of all a lot of the galleries and stuff for the Harry Potter tour in London.
Hmm.
So I did a lot of that drawing. So I had tons and tons of background illustrations and photos and reference, and so that was fun. So, but so we got to go for IAPA, which is the big theme park convention that they hold in Orlando every year. And the year that they were opening Harry Potter, we had friends that had left the company I was with and went over to Warner Brothers that were doing the stuff for the Harry Potter. So we got to walk through the whole thing, back all the back of house, and see all the stuff that if you bought your little magic wand, all the things that would turn on. So we were seeing stuff that probably people still haven't seen.
Hmm.
So that was a lot of fun.
Well, I didn't even know. Well, that's incredible. Um, this is not what I expected to be talking about this evening, Topper. Um, did Universal kept all those drawings too, though?
The
I'm
Harry
assuming.
Potter stuff was I was still in Southern California.
Oh,
The
okay.
all the Mario brothers was all done out of here. I live in northern Illinois.
Okay.
So at that point, when I'm drawing stuff, everything here, I draw it, scan it, clean it up in Photoshop, and send it out. So I've got
Hmm.
those drawings.
Well, that's cool.
Um,
Because like the ride queue in that and the Mario is probably. I mean, I almost like the ride queue more than I like the ride. It's just so cool to go through it. But the ride's pretty dang awesome as well. But just going through, the with the bookcases and all of the ornate elements that you can really see up close was just amazing. You're never bored. That's the whole thing. As you go, they make that hour in line go by faster somehow by spending all that time trying to just research the area that you're in.
I want to say that I did a handful of drawings, but I don't think that any of the concepts were ever used for the Spider-Man ride.
Cool.
So, but that I'm trying to think of that would have been I don't know 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
A
So
little more, yeah. I can't remember when Islands of Adventure opened, but uh but I've ridden the Spider-Man ride quite a bit. That whole area, is I was just there a week and a half ago. So yeah, I definitely love Universal. But well, cool. Well, this is again not we're not talking about comic art and collecting, but that is okay by me. So I mean, before we start looking at some pieces from your collection, I mean, but actually, you know what? When I was in your CAF gallery, I pulled out a couple photographs I thought would be fun to show off, and you talk about this. Uh, Going to the Frazetta museum. I thought this was fun. I mean, I look judging by the cars, I'm guessing this is late 70s,
so no, it would be mid 80s.
mid 80s. Really? Okay.
All right. So the museum was actually upstairs.
Hmm.
Um, if you look, Ellie and Frank are right behind the windshield of that bluish car. They're just getting there, and I was across the street. So I went with Rick Bryant, and he had a girlfriend. So the three of us drove all night from Long Island. I picked him up in the city, and we drove all night, and we were there at the museum opening. And I had my camera, and sadly, I only had like 14 photos to take. And so any of the photos that you see in there, those were all mine. And I had just gotten my hands on this thing that you bounce the flash. So you didn't actually get the red eyes. It was a little,
Hmm.
and Frank was very much into cameras, and he cornered me twice wanting to see it and play with it. And he couldn't have been nicer. I mean, and I see those photos of me and Frank standing there, and I look like a Viking with my big bright red beard and
Oh, here you
yeah,
go.
my shirt open like that's embarrassing. I mean, look how nice Frank looked. But you know, I I get a lot of comments on those photos.
I'm sure you do. I think that's why this one popped. I was like going through I think the most commented pieces in your CAF gallery, and this was this was up near the top.
Well, one of the
And
most pieces is the photo of Ellie. I guess there just wasn't a lot of photos of Ellie.
I was, yeah, I didn't grab that photo, but I was surprised to see a good picture of her because that you're right, there aren't a lot of photographs out there when you're looking at past shows and even things from the current museum. Back in the day, there just aren't a lot of photographs of her. So no, that was pretty cool to see. But yes, this was when I came, I'm like, that doesn't look like Topper, but yeah,
Well,
times change.
yeah, I was a young one there, my Viking days. But one of the interesting things was I reached out to the Frazettas and asked them if they wanted the negatives because I had the photo of the Maasai warrior. Nobody had ever seen that before,
Hmm.
and they didn't want that photo out there yet. I mean, until they were ready to publish it themselves or do something with it. And so they took the negatives, and that's where I met Doc Dave Winowitz, and I traded him a set of photos for his collection, and he sent me those the slides of the cat the, the the Catwoman poster that was originally,
Oh, right. That's
and it was
the green painting. Yeah,
yeah,
I think that was Frank's favorite, right? If I
yeah, it
recall.
was it was the Creepy 16 cover,
Hmm.
and then it was all the different renditions that Doc Dave had taken photos of. So you could see where the girl was changing and changing and changing, and cats were moving left and right and up and down, and
He
then
was
you
never
get to
satisfied with that one.
and then you get to the final, and it's like, damn, that's pretty impressive. So that's how I got those slides, and nobody had ever seen any of those before.
Hmm.
So
Well, Doc Dave is a legend. I never got to meet him, but at the end of the day, he was the number one Frazetta collector out there. Seemingly he was. I know that he helped sell a lot of like the small illustrations and things. So it was just before my time. I didn't start collecting until about '98, so I missed out on uh, what seemed like a kind of a fun moment in collecting, where you had access at least to affordable Frazettas. Those little ones that they don't go for 50, 100, $200 anymore.
no,
I wish they were already, by the time I was collecting, they were already 800 and 1,000, and now you can't touch one for less than like 3 or 4,000 these days. So um, I think I'm priced out of my Frazetta dream, but that's okay. At the end of the day, you can't own everything.
see, that was the part I never got that memo.
Oh, really?
My problem was I wanted it all, and unfortunately, my budget just wasn't there for to own it all,
Hmm.
or even a fraction of it all. So there was a lot of art that I've had that just got traded upwards. So
All
that's
right. And Newell's giving me a hard time. He says, "Not with that attitude, I'll not own a Frizette." It's not. It is what it is. Because anytime now, it's like we're going to look at a couple of the Frizettas that you have in your collection, and they're fantastic. And they're and yeah, I guess you should never say never, but you, it it is what it is. I think that you were definitely there at the right time, and I didn't know Doc Dave was in Vegas now. If that's true. I had no idea. Uh,
he's been there for, I don't know, what, 10 years, 15 years.
See, I only remembered. I thought when he lived closer to Frank, I had no idea. Seemingly, when he kind of dropped out of the collecting scene, at least as someone selling, I really, his name just hasn't come up that often. It's funny, so when you mention it, I feel like I haven't heard the words Doc Dave in a conversation in 10 years.
Yeah, my one of my dear friends, Tom Horvitz, lives in Vegas. So, and at the time he was, I don't know, several blocks away from Doc Dave. So we made the appointment. I was coming into Vegas to see Tom, and I reached out to Doc, and he said, "Oh yeah, come by." Oh my God, you talk about, I mean,
Can't even
talk about a
imagine.
collection on the walls, and then he ended up selling it all through Profiles in History.
Hmm. That's
And
true. I forgot about that. Yeah.
but I mean,
Well,
to see it all on the walls was holy cow.
wow. Well, next time you talk to Tom, tell him I'm still open to doing an interview with him. You can tell him you did one with me, and it didn't hurt, because I've asked Tom numerous times to do it, and every once in a while I'll be like, he'll be like, all right, maybe, and then it's like, no, I'm not ready. but I know he's been around for so long and has he's got to have some pretty good stories just like you have.
Yeah. I talk to him once or twice a day.
Oh, well then good. Let him know tomorrow that I'd love to
So,
talk to him.
so literally with Tom, it's, how do I put this? It's, I've lived a lot of collecting through him, off on the side. I mean, I didn't have to own it. I just got to see it when it came through.
Right.
So there was a lot of art that was just like, oh my God, Tom, how can you do this?
Well, he's one of the guys that ooh, I don't even know which shows. Probably what like the New York Comic Art Con, those early shows where
Right.
when you see photos of art dealers, Tom is usually in the photo or he is the art dealer. I mean, he was just around all the in those, and when you start seeing people dealing in artwork, it's a lot of those photos are of Tom. So I've always wanted to get him on just to kind of talk about the early days and how he got started and everything.
Well, did you know him through when you were in the Youngstown area? Because I mean,
No, I didn't.
he was
No.
from Cleveland, and I didn't know that till much later when we were both in Southern California. He was living in Tarzana, and that's where we got to be really good friends. Well, he was living in Palm Springs and then moved to Tarzana, and that's
Okay.
where I really got to know him.
I don't know if I even knew that he was from the Cleveland area. See, so there's tons of reasons why Tom and I should talk. Um, Well, that's funny. Well, you tell him tomorrow. He's still on my list. I just stopped asking because he'd be like, maybe next year, and then I'd ask again. He's like, maybe next, whatever. It just never worked out, so I just stopped. But I know he's still around. I see him post in the groups every now and again, and yeah, he would be fun. It'd be fun to have had the both of you on. Now that I know you talk so much, that would have been a fun joint interview with the two of you.
Yeah,
Uh,
I know he used to deal a lot with Val and Paul. I mean, I don't know if he has any Val pages at this, but I think he still has some Galassi.
mhm.
And then when Galassi moved to the Seattle area, I didn't. I ran into him again when he showed up for the San Diego Comic Con. So that was the last time I've seen Paul.
Well, I think I should have been born about 15 years earlier, and then I could have enjoyed getting to, the Northeast Ohio, Western PA scene. I kind of missed out on that,
So
apparently.
did you come to any of the Youngstown Comic Cons that we put on?
I don't know. I mean, Youngstown, no. I mean, when I really got started collecting art, I was going to the Pittsburgh show. That because Cleveland didn't after uh the creation cons kind of went away. I mean, there was a creation con in Cleveland. That was probably the first comic book convention I ever went to, and I think that was 1980,
Okay.
82, maybe around 82. But that was so a creation con. But after that, for me it was like they used to have a show in Kent. It was small, and Akron, and they also had a gaming show at Akron. But I would go to Pittsburgh in the late 90s. I can't remember the name of that show, but it was in Monroeville.
Oh, the little Frazetta that I gave you, the Huntress and the Lion.
Hmm.
The very first Frazetta original I ever saw was at a Pittsburgh. A little couldn't have been bigger than my studio room. I mean, it was just a tiny little room, and that Frazetta was on the wall for a whopping $75. Yeah, and that was more money than I could even imagine. I was putting myself through college, and I saw that and was like, oh my God, that's an original Frazetta. And so I didn't buy it. It was way out of my league at the time, but it showed up many years later in a heritage auction and was like, I've got to have it. And the weird part about it, it was sold in the first Russ Cochran catalog from 73. And I mean, it was the size of, a postage stamp. And
Hmm.
then it was reprinted a second time in one of the big Underwood books, but it was blown up to like a double page. So it was all blown out. And I got my hands on this and posted it on the CAF site, and people were freaking out. I mean, it's so delicate and the line work is just absolutely flawless. I mean, I look at Frank's work and I swear to God, there was times that he was inking with a brush with one hair on it. I mean, it's so perfect. And I've had more offers on that one drawing right there than just about any other Frazetta I've owned.
If I had money, I'd be making an offer on that right now. No, I thought the same thing. It is gorgeous, uh, and yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of these, and this one's exceptional. I mean, it's just getting, you know, her pose. It's dynamic, like you said. It's so fluid, minimal line work, and yet the composition is just it's stunning.
I mean, to
And
me,
that
it's a girl and a cat, and you can't go wrong with that. I mean, I love
no.
his cats, but
No, I agree. I mean, what did he draw? Remember that the poster said he did. You either got a girl or a cat, so you got both.
yeah,
But that's great that you saw it, and then years later, getting to see it again, and I'm sure it costs a little more than $75 when you finally were able to pick it up, though.
I think I paid a little over 5 grand for it, and I
Yep.
thought that was a steal because I mean, I've
Hmm.
turned down close to 4 times that amount for it.
Oh, sure. I
I
mean, right.
mean, it's just going to be one of those pieces that, you know what, when I get to the point where I can no longer draw or look at the stuff, and I start selling off everything, that one might just be the one that's going to get buried in the casket with me.
Well, you don't want to do that. You want to
No,
pass it on to
I
some.
don't.
But I totally agree. I mean, today a piece like that, I mean, nothing surprises me in the art market today. 35,000, 40,000. I mean, it's because out of all of the smaller pieces, this might be one of the best ones I've ever seen. So, yeah, you're a lucky man to have this one in your collection. And it's cool that it went through Russ Cochran too, right? I mean, at first catalog, I'll have to go dig it. I've got like the first 60 catalogs from Russ. I was going to do an interview with him just before he passed, so I never got to do it. But part of our exchange of things that we were doing at the time, he sent me like brand new copies of the first 60 art auction catalogs. They were still stapled, never opened. And
Wow.
I only looked at like the first five. I've never gone through them all, but
Well, that's in the very first one. One, the one on this wall over here, between the two Fosters, is the saber tooth tiger charging at you.
with
That I didn't send. It's on my page,
okay.
but that was like a holy grail piece to me. It was like, oh my god, the saber tooth just in full charge. It was just an amazing piece, and I traded the Savage Pellucidar painting rough to Darren Bader for this and some cash. So
Wow. Well, here I know the link is in the show description, but I just pasted the link in the chat for Topper's CAF Gallery, so you can go over there throughout the show or anytime later afterwards and take a look at some of the pieces in his collection. Well, that's awesome. I mean, it's always fun when you hear stories like that. When a piece that either maybe you sold and were able to get back, or something that you saw and you always wanted, and then you finally had the opportunity to get it. It was meant to be. That's wonderful, Topper.
well, it's sitting about a foot and a half away from me.
And that is exactly where it should stay. uh, yes. Um, wow. Well, that's incredible. So, any more interesting stories from your career and working with other creators before we dive into looking at the artworks that you selected for us to talk about?
Oh, if I think I've known so many guys. I mean, most I've met all the studio guys. I did a little bit of work for Mike Vosberg.
Hmm.
Um, I was always either when in Southern California. I mean, in New York, it was you'd go into the city and all of a sudden Clute would be in the hall and you'd stop and talk with Mike, or um, Shakin would come around the corner, or Howard would be always fun to talk to. Um, E. Nelson Bridwell was an editor I worked for. The first pieces I ever got to do that got printed were in Weird War Tales.
Oh, cool.
The very last issue in this that was 124 and 122. So those were my first published DC pieces.
Did you get to keep any of those?
I've got a couple of the page because at the time you got half and the inker got half. So I've got maybe 3 or 4 pages of that left. I mean,
Good.
I didn't get a lot of it, but
just the fact that you're able to hold on to your first work is always, you know, something that I would think as a creator you'd want to have. That you can get buried with.
Yeah, but my son will have it, or my wife will know what to do with it when after I'm gone. So
Well, uh, awesome. So I'll tell you, if you want to sell any of that Mario artwork, send me some pictures. That's my kids are big Mario Kart fans. They whoop me on it whenever we play the game, so that's why I don't play with them anymore. But that's like, yeah, if the opportunity ever comes up, just let me know.
I just have to dig them out, and I'll send you some.
Yeah, send me some pics.
No, I
I
mean I'll send you what I've got, the originals.
got to do
If
that.
36
Uh,
years, I have thousands and thousands and thousands of illustrations from theme parks.
Well, I would love to see them. Yeah, because I mean, literally at Heroes, you can't really see it, but a Mario strip from a manga book that I
Okay.
bought for my kids because that's that's their favorite. And my youngest is 21 now, and so they're older. But anytime you get to be able to buy something that has ties to their childhood and stuff that they love, and things that relate to me as their father, I like to do. So we're all yeah, I would love to see it.
Okay. I'll, I'll,
Um,
I'll dig it out
well, why
for
don't we look at some artwork? Because we do have, and I even picked out a couple extra pieces from your CAF gallery because you picked out great stuff, but there was just a lot of really fun pieces in there. The stuff I picked out will be towards the end if we have time to talk about everything. But uh, I know this first piece is Frank Thorne. Did you get the opportunity to work with Frank at all?
No, and I never even got a chance to meet him. What the funny
Oh, that's too
story
bad.
about this is, I'm I'm at Disney at Walt Disney Imagineering, and literally I was in an auxiliary building, so we weren't on the main campus. We were, like 2 blocks away. I was across the street was the Disney Animation Library, and we were surrounded by a lot of the Disney Animation buildings. And so when I finally got moved over to the main building and was upstairs with all the rest of creative, one of the guys that I got to know found out that I was in the comics, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I used to live in New Jersey, and I used to live next door to Frank Thorne." And I'm like, "Nuh-uh." And so I'm like, "You still talk to him?" And he goes, "Well, yeah, I talk to him all the time." I go, "I want a drawing." I sent my sketchbook. He sent my sketchbook out, and Gita was just coming out as a graphic novel. So it was either that or Moonshine McJugs or whatever she was for Playboy. It was like those were the two that I
You were
wanted.
gonna get one of the. I've got a Moonshine McJugs. Well, I have a prelim and then the colorist piece for it. I don't have the finished piece, but I've got yeah. But it's great. I mean, from the period. I mean, Frank Thorne he's amazing. Was an amazing illustrator. So you just sent a sketchbook out, and this is what came back.
And not only that, but he also Xeroxed it and had it. Is that in German? One of the two. One of the two was in original German. No, that's yeah, yeah. So he also sent the Xerox with. So I've got the Xerox on top of this with the translation in English.
Well, that's incredible.
So
So
that
your friend put in the good word for you, so that you would get the not just a quick sketch, you get a really nice finished piece from him.
what
That's
I
great.
found out really early was if and at least with my sketchbooks, those are some of my pride and joys. That all it took was one artist doing just a kick-ass drawing,
Right.
and after that, nobody wanted to be the person that was going to do a horrible drawing after that. And so, the Kevin Eastman drawing is a good example. I was down to my second. Do you have that one?
I do. I think it's one of the later ones though. So if I
Okay.
were to try to do these in order,
All
I
right. We
just
can go in order. I'll come back to that one. It's a fun story.
yeah, that one's like this is the first one, and that one's 23 in my set. I follow. I lined them up in the order that you put them in the email to me.
Oh, okay.
And this program is not easy to switch through stuff, unfortunately, without showing everything. Then we would tease everything. But that's so you never got to meet Frank, but
No,
thanks to your friend who used to live next door to him, you were able to get a piece like this. That's awesome. So it's still in the sketchbook. You didn't tear the page
no.
out. Perfect.
sadly, the only page out of the 3 sketchbooks that I've got that I ever took out was Jack Kirby did a Thor drawing, a full Thor.
Hmm.
And one of my dearest friends in the whole world is the biggest Thor person on earth, and didn't have anything by Jack. And he made me an offer, and it was like, it was too good an offer that it's like, okay, I'll cut this page out. I mean, I didn't want to do it, but I mean, I'd known Jack for a couple of years. So living in Southern California, you got to
Right.
know the whole circle of everybody around you fairly fast.
Was that your only Jack Kirby?
I had a couple of drawings, small things. I had pages, but I've sold and traded those away for things that I wanted more. I mean, I was usually either chasing a Frazetta, a Foster, or a Jones. And sadly, sometimes pieces have to, you can't keep
Yeah.
it all, sadly.
No, you can't have everything.
So I mean, he did little small sketches for my son Jeremy in his little autograph book, and I've got books over here that are signed to Jeremy. I always got stuff for my son, so I've got the Marvel Masterpiece Fantastic Four book signed to
Hmm.
Jeremy from Jack and from Stan Lee. So
Wow, that's awesome. Well, if you still had the Kirby Thor, I would have had to make an offer on it. But I'm glad, I'm glad it went to a friend who was
if you
a
want to see
true
it,
fan.
it's in the Steve Fight CAF page. His
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. I've been in Steve's CAF Gallery before. I'll try to go in there. Well, I'm gonna make a note. I'll make sure I check it after. But yeah, and
I know
with
where a
this
lot
hair,
of
I
the
have to like Thor.
I know where a lot of the bodies are buried.
All right. Well, let's see here. What do we got for the next piece? So let's see. There we go.
All right, I'm
Mm,
working on Indiana Jones at WDI, and oddly enough, one of the things that I had to do was do a lot of vines. And if you've never drawn a vine before, it's like you would think it wouldn't be that hard. And I had picked up a handful of the Roxana books that they were all European, by Regis Loessel. And there was the Siege Master. I think it's like book 3 or 4. And the whole book is just nothing but fighting through vines. And it was like, oh my God, this, I mean, once you looked at how he did it, it was like, this is really, I mean, I could draw vines in my sleep now. But so I was a huge Loessel fan. And one of my dear friends, Marcelo Vignelli, another Imagineer, left Imagineering and went over to Disney Animation. And I get this call one afternoon going, you're not going to believe who's sitting in the office next to me. I don't know who. He goes, Regis Loessel. I said, I'll be there in 20 minutes. And I went home. I got every book I owned by him. I showed up at animation. I'm wearing my Disney name tag, so they let me right through to his office. He walks me into. I couldn't speak. We couldn't speak to each other. Disney would often bring in, people like Claire Windling and Regis and a bunch of other European guys just for drawings and mood and just influence and early stuff, concept stuff. And I showed him all the books, and he signed every book to me, and I handed my sketchbook, and I said, I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, but I want a drawing. And he said, come back in a couple of days. And that's what I got.
wow, that's incredible.
I mean, it's like it was like I was in the right place at the right time. And a friend knew that I was a huge, huge fan. So,
Well, there's not a lot of their artwork on CAF either. I think maybe only like it's less than 100 pieces. So yeah, that's pretty incredible to have a piece by Regis. That's great. And see, we always talk about having good friends. You never know what opportunities will present themselves. When you have a lot of friends in the business or in the hobby of collecting away.
well, at the time when I was in Southern California, probably 95, 96% of everybody I knew was creative. They were either designing theme parks, they were in animation or TV animation, or designing video games or toy
Mhm.
design. I mean, everybody we knew was, you could talk to anybody. And if anybody who knew me knew what I liked. So I had very good friends. I took care of a lot of my friends too. So when I knew there was something they were looking for, it was like, it's right here. It's right here. You just got to go get it. You know, I can't do it for you.
Well, yeah, I'm actually there's only 62 pieces by him on the site, and you posted the second piece on Comic Card Fans.
Wow, you know
This
that.
one,
Okay.
it's been that long ago. So, thank you. Yeah, 2006. This was one of your earlier first pieces posted in your time. That's great. And it's not small. It says it's 10 and a half by 13 and a half. So
Yeah.
this isn't like it's a small sketchbook. This is great.
Yeah, they're good sized sketchbooks.
Wow. Uh, so where do we go to next? Neil Adams. You said you
Okay.
went to continuity. What was when you went to continuity? Was was it Adams and Giordano, and who else was
Well,
in the studio at that time?
Dick was managing editor at DC. So
Right.
when Pat walked me into I only had like 7 or 8 pages of samples. And so Neil was very gracious. He took his time out and it was going through it. And one of the funnier stories about that was I had swiped a face, a Neil face, and he got to that page, and all of a sudden he put his hand over the drawing and just gave me this smile, like, "Okay, I got it." And it was just like you just feel so small. I mean,
Well, you weren't the only one that he ever did that to. So that's I mean that had at the end of the day, it had to make him feel proud in his own, because he's seeing all these people that saw him as an inspiration for for a generation of creators, and yeah, so he didn't have to say anything, huh?
he just put his hand over it and just gave me this smile, like, "All right, we got it." So I didn't get hired at continuity. So
Well,
on this particular drawing, I had met Neil 3 or 4 times, but not to the point where he wouldn't know me at all. I was just, somebody in the background.
mhm.
And so we would see him every year at San Diego Comic Con. And it was like the year that I decided I wanted to draw. And this is probably like maybe only one of 4 or 5 drawings I ever paid for in my entire life. The Kirby was one. This was one. Couple Adam Hughes pieces were one that were actually put in my sketchbooks. And so we're standing in line waiting for Neil to hand him the sketchbook. And we're talking, and I'm standing there with Steve Fight, and he knew Joel, and Joel was sitting next to Neil. And I'm like, if you've got one shot to get a Neil Adams drawing, what do you want? Most people want a Batman or a Green Arrow or Green Lantern, right?
Mhm.
And I'm hemming and hawing, and I'm like trying to figure out what I want. And I'm talking to Joel, and I'm thinking about possible Black Canary. And he goes, "Go with Black Canary. You'll get a much better drawing. Everybody wants a Batman. Everybody wants a Green Arrow or Green Lantern." So that's what I got up there. I gave him the money, and this is what he did. And Steve was hemming and hawing. I mean, it was like, I don't know, 300 for the drawing for the figure, and he was hemming and hawing, and just he wasn't comfortable pulling the trigger. And so he thought about it for the whole year. So the next year, he goes back and he goes, "I'm going to get my Neil Adams drawing." And he goes, "I'm going to get a Black Canary too." And I go, "Okay." So he gets up, hands Neil the book, hands him the cash. And I go, "Neil, under no circumstance does he get a Black Canary as nice as this one." And I open up the page because that's what friends do for friends.
Right, your poor friend, he's been waiting a year for this moment. And well, how did it turn out?
He got a beautiful Black Canary, but it's not as nice as this one.
So he scaled it back just enough. Oh, boy. Did he ever do that to you?
No, but I mean, I took care of him in other ways. I mean, we were walking through San Diego, and all of a sudden I go, "Stop, get in line right there." And he goes, "What do you do? Who is it?" And I go, "Trust me, just have your sketchbook open and ready." And it was Brian Froud, and he was standing
Mm.
there just doing little goblin head drawings. And so we were standing behind Brian, and he's doing this drawing, and Steve can't see what's going on. And I'm like, "Hey, it looks just like you." And Brian starts laughing, and we're all giggling, and he got a beautiful drawing. But I mean, there was a lot of drawings that go, this is the line you want to get in right now, do it right now, and he would do it without question. So there was a lot of people that he got because I was very diligent about who was going to be at the San Diego, where they were going to be, what time they were going to be at. So
Yeah, those were the fun days of San Diego. It's not that easy anymore. There's
no,
not as many people sketching, let alone you know, it's yeah, it's a very different show. But when I first went in 2003, and I had a few opportunities then where you'd have your friends call on the phone, and be like, you got to come over to aisle blah blah right now. This is- Jim Lee it just sat down at an empty table and he's sketching for free. So that kind of stuff doesn't happen anymore.
I mean, the year Frank was there, I never saw him. I hadn't seen him since the opening of the first museum.
Hmm.
But I mean, there was some fun stories with Frank Cho that was. I mean, Frank was always very pleasant to deal with. And I walked up with my sketchbook and I said, I want to Oscar the Wiener Dog. So he just, Sharpie just did an Oscar and signed it. So the next year I came back and I said, you know what? I want a squirrel jumping out of, a squirrel with an acorn, getting ready to bounce an acorn off of. So he did this little sketch of the squirrel flying out of the air. Next year I came back and said, can we add a tree behind the squirrel? And he looks at me like I've got three heads, but he draws a tree. And next year I had him draw a little bit of grass under Oscar. And my mistake was I posted this story on my CAF saying this. I'm working my way to getting a complete drawing from Frank, and apparently
When did
somebody.
you ask for like the buxom beauty to be in the scene as well?
I I had heard more than once that he wouldn't do a Liberty Meadows drawing at all.
No, yeah, no, yeah, that was the same.
So I mean, I've got the big catfish and somebody in the what was the character in the goggles with the giant catfish swimming by. I've got that drawing in one of my
Uh,
sketchbooks.
I can't. I'm
So
blanking, but
anyway,
I know the character.
so I posted this story about how I was getting all these little pieces, one piece at a time, very patiently working my way through this drawing. And I guess somebody told Frank because the next year I come back and he was waiting for me. And he drew a line under it and then drew the gorilla smoking a cigar. And that was the end of that. So
Wow.
if I had just kept my mouth shut, I probably would have gotten that drawing finished the way I wanted it. But
Right. You would have, yeah. But you started sharing it on CAF and the story got out.
yeah.
Oh well. That's 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 great. Well, who? Okay. This a lot of these have a little bit of a risque kind of quality to them, and this one's really nice because it's by the legendary Dan DeCarlo. Let's show that one off here.
Okay. So do you know how many hits I've gotten on that?
A lot. I was I was looking at your calf earlier.
Because I guess Dan just didn't do a lot of nudity at all.
No, and this I was a little surprised when I saw this because I can't say that I've seen too much by him. I've got plenty of I have a few pieces by Dan and they're all just more they're more pinup-y versus this, or I've got an Archie strip kind of thing. But yeah, this no. So how did you get this?
All right. So two of my two of my dear friends in Southern California was Mike Thibodeau and Dave Schwartz,
Hmm.
and they had pulled off some kind of deal that they were just getting hundreds of pages. They bought a huge collection from Dan, and so with the access to Dan, I was like, "Do you think he'd do a sketch?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, he'd do a sketch for you." And so it's literally one of those things that when you go through my sketchbooks, I don't have a problem with nudity at all. I mean, it's nothing pornographic or anything like that, but I don't have a problem with nudity. And sometimes, and so when Dan got the sketchbook, apparently he went through the rest of it because he felt comfortable, and that's what I got. So, I mean, I didn't ask for that specifically. I didn't ask for anything. I just said, maybe a Betty and Veronica, and I got this piece back. I've never met him. That's one of those drawings that I was just like, oh God, look at this.
That's great. It's just too good. Yeah, you'd be hard pressed to do a search on CAF and find any kind of anything quite like this piece. So again, friends, right place, right time, and something, and you just have to ask sometimes, right? You never know. Sometimes I'm sure you've gotten turned down, maybe not as often as you got accepted for pieces like this, but hey, you never know unless you try.
Well, unless when I'm doing drawings, unless somebody specifically wants nudity, um, I like doing pinup-y kind of stuff. So
Hmm.
that's always been fun to do. But occasionally somebody goes, "Yeah, I'm okay with nude." I'm like, okay, I'm good with it too.
Yeah. I saw, oh yeah, there was a question earlier. Did you ever get to go to Jack's house? I think Peter Rowe asked that when we were talking about Thor. He wanted to know if you went to Jack and Roz's place when you were in SoCal.
The first time I ever met Jack, all right, there was an organization in Southern California called CAPS, the
Hmm.
Comic Art Professional Society.
Yep.
And the only way you could get in it was you had to have something professionally published. So I got in fairly easily. And Mike was like a godchild to the Kirby's, Mike Thibodeau. And so Jack and Roz were going to a CAPS meeting. Mike picked him up and took him, but he picked me up as well. So here's his van with a mattress in the back, and Jack and Roz are sitting in the cross-legged, and I'm sitting in the van in the back with him, and we're just talking and just we had met Jack 3 or 4 times, and then the only time I was ever in his house, um, Jack had passed away, and we were at the funeral, and then a handful of people were invited back to the house. So I sat at his easel. We looked at the art on the walls. There was a little bit of a celebration of life. I mean, it wasn't like the 400 or 500 people that were in the church. It
Hmm.
was maybe 40 or 50 people, and I got to be one of them. So that was the only time I was actually ever in the Kirby's house.
But you get to ride in the back of a van on a mattress with Jack and Roz on the way to a CAPS meeting, of all things.
That's how I
That's
met Jack.
That's a first. I don't think we're gonna ever have a story like that on the CAF Plus channel again. That's amazing, Topper. Would you remember what did you talk about with Jack and Roz on the way to the CAPS meeting?
God, what?
This is back in the days when you did not have, the police would pull you over and you wouldn't get ticketed for not
No,
wearing a seatbelt.
I just remember one of about the only story I remember was, and it really kind of surprised me. We were talking about the fan base, and you're sitting there with them, and you're trying really hard not to sound like Joe Blow fanboy. It's like you're trying to be professional, and you're having conversations and adult conversations. And I was saying something about when you go to San Diego, a mile away you could tell who's going to San Diego because they're walking around in costumes. And he goes, "Oh, you mean the propeller heads?" And I'm like, "What?" That's what I mean. That's what he kind of referred to fan base as. These are people that think Spider-Man's real, and these characters are real people. I mean, it's not a comic book.
Hmm.
And you're like, okay, I can't top that.
No, well, he had a lot of experience with the fan base, so
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we are never gonna have that story again. Thank you. Oh man. Uh let's see here. What was oh, okay. Yeah, this is a beautiful piece.
Okay. So
Schultz.
every year I'd go to San Diego and Mark would be there over by the flesh tables. And every year I walked up and wanted to do a drawing. And Mark just he'll sign autographs. He'll do, I mean, like a whole 2 second sketch if maybe with his signature, but he just wouldn't do a drawing. Just wasn't interested in doing a drawing at all. And I mean, every year I was persistent. I asked and I asked and I asked. And finally, on the 10th year, I said, I've been trying for 10 years. I said, what if I send you a sketchbook? Would you do a drawing then? And he goes, okay. He was more comfortable doing it at home.
Mhm.
But at the time, my sketchbook was like, all right, if something happens to this book, I can't replace the people that have done all the work. So I said, I'm going to go get a brand new sketchbook, and I'll send you that. And he goes, I'm fine with that. So I FedExed the book and I paid for the money to ship it back. And after about, I don't know, 3 weeks, this is the drawing that came. I mean, the dry brushing is amazing. He sent a nice personal note, and that's the first page of the book, of my third sketchbook. And that's been reprinted twice by him. So I guess he liked it enough that he published it. But that was, it was 10 years of begging and being persistent.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, it's a book plate, I mean, it's such a gorgeous illustration and the idea that but yeah, those are the dangers of, letting artists take home your sketchbook 'cause if, so you were smart. You had done this before. This wasn't your first rodeo. You bought a brand new sketchbook to send to him, so on the outside chance he didn't get it back for a year or whatnot, but, holy smokes. This,
I,
so what artist had to follow this sketch in that sketchbook?
if you want to keep
I'm
talking first,
curious. Yeah,
just
let's see it. Pull it out. I wanna know. 'Cause they had to compare everything to this one piece. Alright, let's see here. So, okay, so it's not even this is a pretty large sketchbook.
note drawing, and it's under plastic. Every single page is under plastic, so it doesn't, because so many guys were using Sharpie. Oh,
Oh, sure.
page 2,
Oh, and we're gonna see that piece too.
Eric Canetti.
Wow.
That's who
Canetti's
fought.
not intimidated. That's great.
Yeah. And then, and then a fast Adam Hughes.
Nice. Yep.
So there's probably about a dozen Adam Hughes in here. But I'm trying to think of who else in this book. Oh, here's the one you were talking about.
The Scalera?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that came out. That's beautiful. We're gonna see a better scan of that one in a little bit.
I got a beautiful Andrew Robinson
Oh, man.
mermaid walk. I love mermaids. So this is just this is far from being finished, but the opportunities that I've got, it's not like the days at Disney where I had access to Disney animators and Disney artists, and I was going to a lot of conventions, so the books are slowing down. I mean, book 1 is completely filled. Book 2 is like 4/5 filled, and those are like filled with, I mean, who's who, the top Disney animators and a lot of Imagineers who were in their peak at the time, and illustrators that I got to meet over a period. So, yeah.
Wow. You get the career and, you get the goodies as well, getting them to do a sketch for you.
And,
That's
and
awesome.
and I took a lot of advantage of that. I mean, there was a lot of people that I knew when I would approach them about I wanted a drawing, and they were like, "Yeah, we're just not going to do it." And then you show them the sketchbooks, and then they would be like, you go through it, and I mean, some of these mouths would just drop. I mean, it would be like, that's a full blown painting. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Eric was just, I mean, he's one of my favorite designers, and I've got maybe a dozen drawings by him in my studio. But I mean, the thought of a mermaid looking at herself at, in the reflection at the top of the water, like, wow, who would have thought of something like that?
Yeah, Eric's fantastic. I have a couple pieces by him myself. I think he's just an amazing illustrator. It's dynamic. There's a lot of energy in his line work, and yeah, this is beautiful. The colors are stunning, and now we get to see it in your sketchbook. It's not small. It's not 9 by 12.
No, so all 3 sketchbooks are the same size.
Yep.
So it gives somebody a chance, if they really want to draw, a chance to just play. But that's who followed Mark Schultz.
Well, Yes, he's a very confident guy.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right. This is unlike all the rest.
And oddly enough, this is probably one of my all-time favorite stories of any of the drawings I have. So in caps at the time, was it Sergio? I think Sergio was the president at the time because every year you'd go through a different election. And Don R. Christensen was on the board. So he would always be at the top of, and I don't know if I mean, he was kind of an older gentleman and I didn't know a whole lot about him, but him and his wife, Ivy, would, sit there and they couldn't have been nicer people, but I never saw a lot of people talking to him. So every month in LA, there was Bruce Schwartz had a little comic convention, it was a monthly comic show. And I was there this one day and somebody on the other side of the room was having a fire sale. Literally, probably had 30 or 40 long boxes of comic books that literally his house had gone up in smoke, and these comic books were singed, they were burnt, they were water damaged from the fire department coming and putting out the fires. And so all these books, all these vintage, 30s and 40s and 50s, 60s books were like $1 a piece. But I mean, they were pretty roach. And so I started going through a lot of the funny animal stuff, looking for some of the early Frazetta funny animal stuff. And I come across this character, Robin Hood Robin, by Don R. And I'm going, I wonder if this is the same guy. Well, what I found out was Don R had originally worked for Disney, and during the strikes on Fantasia, where they were trying to go union, and Disney was a union buster, let a lot of these guys go, and they all ended up at Warner Brothers doing the animation over there. And a lot of the animators would do freelance funny animal comic stories. So there was this story by Don R. So for $1, I bought it. So I walked up to Don, and Ivy's sitting there, and I go, Don, can you do me a Robin Hood Robin? And he looks at me, goes, I don't remember what he looks like. And I said, he looks like this. And I hand him the comic. And so he does this drawing for me. And so I get the book, but when he's done, he goes, I wish my grandkids could they see this. And I go, then give him the book. So I gave him the comic book. So I went back to my table where I was sitting with a couple other guys, and Ivy came up to me afterwards and she goes, I can't thank you enough. She goes, I don't think you realize that after his heart attack, he's blind in one eye. He can't draw with his right hand anymore. He's drawing with his left. And this just meant a lot to him. It's like,
Wow.
I mean, it's not a drawing that, it's a drawing that doesn't fit anything else I've got, but it's got such a great story and a memory for me. So that's why I included it.
And his topper, you came 50 years too late for one, fresh off the presses.
So I think I want to say he was in his late 70s, early
Oh, he
80s.
still keep got his sense of humor, and no, I mean that's really special. I mean, I can only imagine what those Caps meetings would have been like, with Sergio as president and just getting to see all those legendary creators all together at the same time. I mean, uh, uh, w- uh, yeah, that's pretty darn amazing.
I they're always in Burbank, so they were, and I lived in Burbank, so it was always not a big deal to get there. And a very funny story. So we're at San Diego, and we were leaving for the day, and as we're getting ready to walk out this door, me, Steve, and our friend Scott, all of a sudden I see this little line of about 4 or 5 people, and I see this guy sitting at the table, and I go, "That's Bruce Timm. Get in line." So we get in line, and it's my turn to hand him my sketchbook. And what he was doing was he was penciling it out real fast, whatever character you wanted. And then he would, go over it with a Sharpie or whatever pen he was using. And then he would erase all the pencil line and then sign the sketch, either sign it to you or sign it. And so God, what did I ask for? I asked for a poison ivy. And so I should have asked for a Harley, but that's a different
Really.
story. So he pencils it out, and I as he's starting to ink it, I go, please leave the pencils there. And he looks at me, and he goes, do you want it signed or signed to you? And I go, you can sign it to me. I want it signed to me. And he goes, your name? And I go, Topper Helmers. And he stops and looks at me and goes, I went to a CAF's meeting as a guest, and you gave me my first blue erase pencil. Yeah, and Steven Scott just went, it was like, and he remembered that I gave him his first color erase pencil. And I was like,
Wow.
okay. I didn't, he
And
was
now I
really
knew why
nice.
you didn't want the pencils erased. So
Yeah.
you want the process. That's incredible.
So that was just one of those weird little stories that was like right place, right time. And I guess I didn't even know it. So
Amazing. Wow. I know we're getting good stories with all these pieces. You took exactly, what I remember. I said, "Give me pieces with great stories," and we get those. They're I don't know. This is wonderful. Um,
what's
all right.
next?
That's what I'm asking myself here. Let's see. I'm going to switch over to the next slide and pull this one up. All right, here we go.
Okay. So,
Hold.
so I'm apprenticing under Val, and Val would get his mail every day. And a lot of people who didn't know, I mean, Marvel was really good about forwarding mail. So if you wanted to write to Val, you wrote to Marvel, and Marvel would forward all the mail to him.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned this lesson really fast. So when Murata the She Wolf was coming out, it was like, I want him to, I want a drawing. I want something from John. And I had no idea where he was. So I started this letter, and every letter was like a fanboy going, I'm in love with you and I want to have your baby. I mean, it was like nothing I wrote sounded professional. And so I remember, do you know who F.R. Gruger is?
The name sounds familiar, but I
A,
don't know.
a big illustrator from the 20s and 30s, phenomenal paint
Okay.
washes and pencils. And I had the book, and there was a letter that I remembered that Norman Rockwell had written to F.R. Gruger wanting to acquire an original.
Mm-hmm.
And this letter was like, this is as professional as it gets. So I literally copied the letter, changed the wording, sent it off to Marvel, and about 2 months later, I get this letter back from England, and he said, "Yeah, I'll do a drawing, $35 pencil." Yeah. So I was hanging around with Doug Murray, so we put in $70, and that was including the shipping. And so we shipped it off to Brian Bolt or John Bolton in England. And about 2 months later, I get this envelope back, and this is the drawing I kept. Doug got the other one, and that's hanging on that wall above a Jones between two Frazettas. So my $35, and I got to meet him a couple years later in San Diego. So he did another drawing for me in my sketchbook there. But I love this drawing.
That's a very good $35 piece for certain. What was this? A Rich Danny one knows was the character. Was that from an Epic magazine? From the was it that era of
Yeah. What
Marvel?
was it? Epic. He did Murata. I know they did it as a graphic. Ended up doing it as a graphic novel, but I one of the two Marvel. It wasn't Savage Tale. It might have been Epic. There was two story. He did two stories in two different issues, and then they published it all as a graphic novel. And the character just knocked my socks off. So I was like, okay, I've got nothing to lose.
No, not at all.
And
No, it's gorgeous. Let's see. Mike D says it was Epic. Okay. And I threw a link in the chat for Frederick. That's F.R. Gruger.
Gruger, Gruger.
Yeah, I've seen the artwork for sure because I've been on the Illustrated Gallery's website before. So yeah, that's I knew the name sounded familiar. But for those curious, you can look up their artwork from the link in the chat. Next up, that we already saw that one. We already saw that one. Okay.
Okay, so Doug was friends with Al and Crinkle and Frazetta, and and a bunch of the, Angela Torres, a lot of those guys. And he had a file cabinet filled with stuff. And I bought 4 or 5, this was on tissue. So, I mean, he inked a lot of this on tissue. And so he called one day and said, we're going to visit Al in Pennsylvania. You want to go? Yeah.
Of
So, I
course.
mean, so we're hanging out with, so I took 3 or 4 drawings that I had that were like this. And so we get to Al's, and his studio was above the garage. I want to say it was above the garage, and you're walking up the steps to his level. And there was, you're going by Prince Valiant's, and you're going by Alex Raymond Flash Gordon's. And I mean, it was like, I thought my head was going to explode. So at the end of the day, all right, so we're sitting there, and I go, and I pull these drawings out, and he goes, "Where'd you get these?" And I pointed at Doug, and Doug had this sheepish look on his face, like, maybe I wasn't supposed to sell this. But Al was very polite and signed them all to me. So I've got them all. And then we go into the house, and I'm sitting on the couch under the Prince Valiant, fighting, the Val getting the singing sword, fighting the Vikings on the bridge page. I'm sitting under that, right? And Al goes, "Do you like women or action?" And I go, "Women." And so he opens up his closet, and he probably had, a 4.5, 5 foot stack of dailies. And of course, the one he pulls out and hands me and signs it to me is an action. There was not a girl on it.
Of course.
And so Doug and Pam are like looking like, "Well, what about us? Why don't we get one?" So apparently they had gotten their share of dailies over the years, but I still have that in a flat file.
A secret agent, Corrigan.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, amazing. That's see, and you've been in the right place at the right time many times.
more, I've gotten luckier than most, and I've gotten to meet probably most of my heroes. So
Hmm. Wow, fantastic.
okay, so the first year, Chris Sanders. If do you know who he is? You know.
Yeah.
All right. So Chris was at San Diego, and I didn't. I'd never met him, and one of the people I was working with had met him and bought his first sketchbook, and I was dying. It was like this book was just like, oh my god, this guy. Who is this guy? So the next year, and I've got every sketchbook he's done at that point, and so we got to know Chris fairly well. And this mermaid was in one of the I think it was the first or second sketchbook, but the tail was cut off. So when he was telling me that when he drew this, he he drew it right to the edge of the paper, and that's how it ended. So I mean, the top part of that tail is completely missing from the original drawing. And like I said, I have a thing for mermaids, so it's like, "Chris, I want to buy this drawing." "Yeah, I don't want to sell it. I'm just not interested." So I said, "I'll give you $1,000." He goes, "No, I'm not interested." And Steve and Scott, my friends that I'm with, are like, "You don't do that. We'll never get a drawing at that rate." So the next year I come back and I go, "Chris, I'll give you $1,500 for this mermaid." "No, no, no, I don't want to sell it. I don't want to sell it." So every year for like 4 years, I kept upping the price, and my friends were like getting really pissed at me because I think I was up to like $3,500. I really wanted this drawing.
If there's ever going to be a market for his art, you're ruining it for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. That's what that was their attitude was. So the following year, it occurred to me that, all right, so I came back and I said, "Chris, you don't want to sell the original. I get it. Would you recreate it?" And he stops and looks at me and goes, "Yeah, I'd do that for you." And he charged me $1,800. And I got a full tail on top of it. So
Well, lucky you. You came up to a very amicable agreement for you both, and you get this fantastic piece that I don't think too many people can can top.
so the funny thing is he had left Disney and was down the street at DreamWorks. So when I was at Imagineering, DreamWorks was literally 200 yards down the street that we were on. And so I knew a whole handful of people working in DreamWorks. I had been interviewed there once and I didn't take the job because I liked being in Imagineering. And so I understood how to work the phone system. And so the second year that I was talking with Chris at San Diego, I mean, at San Diego, you're just in, there's just so many thousands of people in your face the whole 4 days or 5 days or 6 days, however long you're there. So you're just a blur. And I get that. I get that completely. And I said, I'd really like to get a sketch in my sketchbook. And he's another one that didn't want to do sketches live. I
Mhm.
said, would it be okay if I approached you at DreamWorks? And he goes, oh yeah, sure, go ahead. Figuring I'm never going to get this book to him. And like 3 days later, I knew the work, I knew how to work the system, and I got it to him. And he met me outside. I gave him the book, and probably the single drawing that I've got on my CAF page, the most hits I've gotten on a piece was the little nude of by him. I think the piece that I was like last time I looked was like 32 to 33,000 hits, but that was the drawing I got. And again, it was just me being persistent. And
Yeah.
over a period of time, I got to meet a lot of. We'd hang out a little bit. I'd go to lunch with him, buy him lunch. We'd get drawings. So there was some sketches that I got from him, some pencil prelims. So
Yeah, 52,000 views.
okay, that, that's more than I remembered, but
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. But it's a beautiful nude, and I could throw the link in the chat. Let's see. Here we go.
so those are some of my Chris Sanders stories.
Wow. Well, yeah, I don't think I have any piece close to that that view count. But I don't think I have any nudes as nice as this one in my CAF gallery either. So let's see here. Switch over to this one. Here we go. So a Jeff Jones piece that this was a like I think you noted it was a recreation of an idol illustration.
It's on like page 10 or 11 of Idle,
Okay.
and so it was just a single panel that pretty much looked like that, cropped a little bit closer. And when this came my way, I picked it up, and I had known Jeff for many, many, many years. So I reached out and said, when were you doing recreations of this? And he goes, oh no, I did this for a French fanzine cover. And I'm like, okay. So that took me like 4 years to hunt down. Finally one showed up on eBay. I buy it. I get it shipped over to the States. I get it and I hold it up next to this, and it's like there's subtle differences, but it's not the same. I think they took the panel right out of the Idol strip and used
Hmm.
that instead of this one. And then I heard from somebody just the other day saying that occasionally Jeff would on panels that he really liked would recreate the panels and just take them to conventions and sell them. And I'm like, I love this drawing. So
Yeah. No, it's stunning. I have one Jeff Jones in my collection, and it's very rough. This is finished. It's perfect. Yeah, you're a lucky man, Topper.
there was a time I owned 4 idols, 8 image pages, and I don't have any of them anymore. And I could tell you where a couple of them went.
Mhm.
I mean, you'll never see them again. I mean, George Lucas bought one of them.
Well, you might be able to go see that at the Lucas Museum in the
Well,
fall.
that's what I'm thinking. It's going to show up, and you'll it's the big octopus idol page. I mean, it's one of those beautiful pages.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know which one you're talking about. You had that one?
I owned that for many years.
Oh, uh, the things we used to own. well, well,
Yeah,
hopefully it will turn up at the Lucas Museum. That would be wonderful.
but I ran into him at San Diego. I hadn't seen him in a couple of years, and we had always stayed in touch. And I said, Jeff, I want a sketch in my sketchbook. He goes, yeah, I'm not going to do it at the convention. I'll take it back to my hotel room. I'll give it back to you tomorrow.
Hmm.
I was sweating bullets all night. I'm like, oh my God, I'm never going to get this sketchbook. I mean, I was freaking out. And I get the sketchbook back, and it was the panel. It was an idle panel that of the big brontosaurus wading through the water and all the pterodactyls flying. Beautiful pen and ink drawing, and I was like, oh my god. So that's on there too.
Well, I'll have to dig up the link for that one to your in your calf. But yeah, you've done pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping I could get to it really quick, but you have come with those idol statues too. Those were, I mean, you still have those because there weren't many of those made.
Um, the idol figures right there. I don't. You might be able to see it. It's under the warthog. And
Just barely. Yeah, it's the figure right in front of the purple
the
painting.
Neanderthal is on the back wall on that bookcase under a Chris Sanders statue. I don't know if you can, there's some paper covering it in front of it, but he's right there.
Wow, those are pretty cool. Very hard to come by.
I found the Neanderthal. I was still living in Southern California. Popped up on eBay. I think I paid like $200 or $300 for it, and I wanted the idol girl forever and couldn't find one. I mean, it just every time I saw one, it just never showed up. And one day, Mark Baudet said on the Jones site, he goes, "I've got the idol statue. If anybody wants it, let me know." This is the one that he had given to my father, Vaughn.
Hmm.
And I'm like, yeah. And I wrote him, and he goes, "Sorry, it's already sold." And the guy backed out, and so I got it. So it was like, yeah, she's sitting right there.
Oh, congratulations. Yeah, those yeah, they're not many out there still.
And what else is on my want list is the Corbin statue.
Corbin statue. Which one is that?
It's the one
Uh
with the girl on her back, like.
oh,
And
I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
there's only a couple hundred of those, and I've only ever seen that for sale like once or twice ever.
Hmm.
But that's on my hit list.
Yeah, I just Googled it. Yeah. All right. So what's next? Where can we go from here? I think
Okay,
tell me because you sent me the panel scans from this strip
okay,
and a full image of it. So why'd you do that?
okay. So for many years, I wanted a full Val, and
Hmm.
I couldn't pull the trigger. They always seemed like out of touch for me, too much money. But you could occasionally find panels that, for years, that if Foster went to a convention, he'd take pages, cut up the panels, and hand them out, sign them and hand them out. So I had been buying a couple panels here and there when I could find one that I wanted. And I was at San Diego, and Richard Halegwe, I'm looking through his table and I see this panel. And it was like the blue washes. I mean, everything was just, I mean, I love the way he drew water. So I'm like, okay, how much for the panel? So I buy the panel, but he had another panel there that I didn't realize, and I didn't like the panel at all. It was of King Arthur on the rocks, looking over the ocean. And so the following year, I went back, and Richard goes, Topper, come here, come here. So I walk over, and he's got the panel that's next to it. So this is the upper left middle tier panel. And the one next to it was Boltar being presented his son for the first time. And there. And so that's the whole tier, the middle tier. So I buy that. So I've got that framed on the wall, on my staircase. And so skip 7 years, and somebody from Kansas City put up a pair of panels on eBay. And I very rarely buy art off of eBay, but it was the lower tier, the two corners. So this panel and the one with the ships in the water, yeah. So that top tier there, they're good sized panels, and the two lower corners were the ones that showed up on eBay. So I knew they were part of my page, and I bought them. So you have to for the first panel to that middle one. That was the other panel that he had when I first bought the first one with the water, and so 21 years after I bought that first panel, and I had 2/3 of a page almost done with except that one panel. that shows up in Heritage. And a friend calls and says, I think the King Arthur panel that you've been waiting for is on eBay or on in the Heritage auction. So I don't know if the top tier exists. It's a it's a page from 53, so it's I put that together over a 21-year period. Um, when Foster started donating all his pages that he had left to the University of Syracuse in New York, he he started with 52 and 53 and 54. So if you were trying to collect a page from every year, in 53, I think there's only 4 pages out there. That's it. Everything else is
Hmm.
in a museum. So that story meant a lot to me because it was one panel at a time, and it took 21 years to put that together.
I I mean, it seems impossible that you could have even gotten, these 5 panels to put together. I mean, that's incredible.
I've learned that I can be very patient when I need to be, and I've got a very understanding wife.
Well, congratulations. So you're still on the lookout though for the top panel.
I mean, I've got I've got a full val there. I've got a 46 2/3, so it's missing the top tier on that one too.
Mhm.
Um, and the 46 is where Alita is meeting her new father-in-law for the first time. And then I've got a beautiful page from 56, which is a 2/3 page, and that's like the complete family page. It's got Alita, it's got his father, it's got Arn on a horseback at a full run. I've got Val hawking with some friends, and the twins fighting. So it's like if you're looking for a complete Val page, that's a beautiful page, and it's a favorite of mine. And that's upstairs.
You have, one hell of a collection, Topper, and
I
great stories
but I was buying
that
this
go
stuff,
with them.
I was buying it in the 70s and 80s when it was affordable.
Mhm.
I mean, I couldn't put this together now unless I win the lottery, and it would help if I played the lottery.
Well, you might not have as much art if you played the lottery though too. So, now this next piece, it's a bit of a departure, but an amazing illustrator nonetheless. Let's take a look at this one. So you have the cover to this sketchbook, huh?
Yeah, it's
I got one of the first copies when the sketchbook came out. Let's see. You got it framed? Oh yeah. So you get to look at that every day.
yep. And what's funny is you can't see it, but on the back it's got this goofy looking guy with the Swedish bikini team, a big pencil prelim that he never finished. And that's on the back of that. So yeah, that one was I was chasing at him for a long time, and a friend of mine in LA got his hands on it. He was good friends with Adam, and I I forget why he sold it to me, but I think it was his girlfriend or his future wife wasn't a fan of the page. I think that's what it was.
That always helps.
So it came out. It was offered at a price that I could live with, and like, okay, I like it.
Yeah, not bad. I My wife loves Adam Hughes' work, so we have a couple of his pieces on the walls in the main house. So yeah, that's a beauty. And I don't remember Rich Danny's Ass was that 2003. I don't remember what year that sketchbook came out, but I've got like I haven't bought sketchbooks in a while, but I hit like the first 6 or 7 that Adam came out with. I always bought them whenever I'd see him. So yeah, still got this one. But you've got the cover. So
I, I've got the and the sketchbook is over on a bookshelf over there behind me.
mhm. Charles Holbert says, "I spotted the sketchbook going for $225 just yesterday."
Are
Yeah,
you
they're not cheap.
serious?
Yeah, it's surprising. Those early, Hughes sketchbooks yeah, they're not th they're not where you would think they would be. They're not $25, not at all.
I think I paid 10 for mine when it first came out. I think that's what he was selling them for.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they all were in back in the day. But yeah, well, congrats. This is it's gorgeous. I love it. Love the tonal work interface and neck. I mean, it's a great piece. And Adam's sense of humor, it screamed in his work before that, but when this came out, it was, you know, it was like made for us as comic art fans. We were like, oh yeah, we're all, well, you had to buy one of these.
It works for me.
Hmm. Chaikin, right?
Yes.
There we go.
So, have you ever spent a lot of time talking with Howard?
I've had Howard on like 5 or 6 shows in the
Okay.
past. Yeah.
So he's a huge illustration collector, and so I, Mike was a good friend of his, and there was a lot of times that there was a small group of us that were going to have we had lunch every like once a month, and Howard was always part of the group, and so I got to know him. I mean, I had met him 3 or 4 times previous, but we I would sit and talk illustration with him. So one day he invited me over to his house in Studio City, and again it was like a museum of illustration. It was just like, oh my God, look at it was 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s illustrators, paintings on the wall, and we're hanging out, and I took my sketchbook, which I left with him, and he did me a beautiful drawing in that. But he goes, "Yeah, do you want a page?" And I go, "Yeah." And I really haven't collected a lot of comic pages. I was more interested in illustration or single drawings or whatever. And so that was the page I picked out, and he signed it, and sitting in his studio in Studio City.
Wow. Yeah. Howard's, he's a unique individual, and I think the first interview I did with him, I said, you lay out a pretty good page. he, he gave me Bill. They had me teach Marvel. Most of the Marvel artists know how to do page layout. So yeah, that's true. So it was like, yeah, Howard cuts to the point on everything. I think it's weird, today Howard usually does everything like he does all his panels separate and then pulls it all together in Photoshop and whatnot. And for a guy who's just an incredible page designer, I don't know. I find it's just like I don't know how he made that leap, from going from just being great at panel layout and page design, and then doing it all separately, on separate boards or similar, where he's breaking it all down and then pulling it all together later. But yeah, this is a beautiful page, great example of his work.
I remember. I don't know. I think I was just stunned when, in a conversation with him, I was trying to ask how he had gotten this one special effect where it looked like a bullet was just ripping this guy's clothing, and I mean, and he goes, "Yeah, I inked the whole page, and then I took an X-Acto blade to the paper, just shredded it, and the effect was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? It wasn't white out, or I mean, he didn't draw it that way. I mean, he just finished the page and then just took an X-Acto blade and scraped it off."
Hmm.
And I'm like, it never occurred to me that somebody would do something like that just to get the effect. And it was like that's when it told me that this was about the finished product and not worrying about what the fan base would want. And it was like, okay, I get it. I get it completely. So yeah, I was very happy with this page.
I do not blame you. I don't have a published piece by him at all, but yeah, this would be fine. As a representative example, yeah, I'd be happy to have that one.
Okay. So there was a little pizza place that I absolutely loved in Burbank, California. And there was a back room that had, as a dining place. And there'd be like Mike Vosberg would put the call out, and 10 or 15 people, all artists would show up, and we'd just have pizza and beer and just sit and shoot the shit. And so this one night, Mike told me that Bernie was coming to join us.
Hmm.
Like, okay. And I had picked up this little piece from Tom Horvitz. It was one of his card art. And so I walked up to Bernie and I said, Bernie, could you sign this for me? And he looks at it and goes, yeah, I think I could do better. And he takes out a pencil and he just starts drawing on it. And it was like He goes, yeah, this tree. And he kept drawing on it for like 20, 30 minutes. And I'm like having a heart attack going, I just wanted it signed to me. So that was just a weird, quirky little story. I got to know Bernie really well.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And that's
Who would have thought, right?
sitting next to the Adam Hughes, under a Frazetta, next to a Jones. My walls are they're pretty impressive.
Well, the next piece we're going to look at is the Eastman piece that you were referencing when we were looking at the very first slide. So
Okay,
here you
so
go.
Kevin would be showing. He would show up every year at the heavy metal table because he owned heavy metal at the time at
Hmm.
San Diego, and it was a big booth. And I had seen him there for years and years. And so this one year, it occurred to me that why can't I get Kevin to see if I can get him to do me a little sketch? And so I walked up when I waited patiently for him to call, for the crowd to wind down. And I said, Kevin, is it possible to get a drawing? And he looks at me and goes, yeah, I've got time. I can do a little head drawing and that's about it. And I said, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with you. And he said, just leave the sketchbook. And I go, okay, babe, for about how long? And I'm like, he goes, well, maybe an hour. And I said, just do me a favor first. Start at the beginning and look through the rest of the book. So so you're looking at Will Eisner and you're looking at, it's like a who's who of art. So he gets to a blank page and I've left. So we come back about an hour and 10 minutes later. And here he is working in the middle of his booth. And the whole booth has got 3 to 4 layers of people just staring at him drawing. And he's sitting there sweating. And I'm like, oh my God. So by the time he got to a blank page, he couldn't just do a simple head drawing anymore. He was obligated.
That's the
So
way to do it.
with the city background and all 3 turtles and it's like it just doesn't get better than that.
Well, he uh what did he thank you, or did he
I think he was more anxious to get rid of the book at that
he
point.
just wanted to be done? What did I get myself into?
Yeah. If he had just done a little head sketch, I would have, I would have been fine with that. I would have, but when I came back and I saw, there must have been 30, 35 people crowded around the table watching him draw. I mean, it just made me laugh. I felt I didn't mean to put him through that, but
Well,
this was the
Kevin,
drawing I got. So
he had a well, he probably still has a pretty decent art collection, but he knows the collector mentality, very very well on the art side of things, and so I can imagine he was just like, nope, I can't mail this one. I have to put a little effort into it. It's no, you got lucky. '07 is the date on
yeah.
it. Let's see here. I think I threw in actually I can just show one other one here because I think we did see it, but it's cool to see up close here. Where is the Scalera? That was nice. This was done in the sketchbook too. You showed it. Um,
All in washes. Who's his rep?
Essential Sequential.
Yes, thank you. So he was sitting at just the 2 of them were sitting at the table. It was just a small table at the back of the illustration, all the illustration art, and all the art dealers are around him. And so it was like he was doing nothing. He was just sitting there, looking off into space. And he goes, "What do you want?" And I go, very rarely did I ever ask for anything very specific. And I said, whatever you feel like drawing. With Andrew Robinson, at the essential table, it was like, I want mermaids. I had picked up a little page of prelims that he had done a handful of mermaids. I said, I want a mermaid. So I was very specific there. But this is what he gave me. And I'm like, okay, this is stunning.
One of those times where yeah, they did what they wanted and you got an incredible piece out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scalera was at OAX, and yeah, I'm a huge fan, and there's a lot of people on CAF who love his work. So I felt this one was worth showing as well. There was a question, what was it? Mike D asked, "Does Topper still have the Medicine Man ink by Frazetta?" Oh, you're getting up. That's, well, there you go. Is that in your calf?
It was. It's actually it just got sold.
Oh, that's well. So we're
So
getting this is the last appearance in your space.
yep, I took it off. I took it off my page. It's actually going back to the Frazettas. So
Oh, really?
yeah.
How did that work out?
Well, do you talk to Sarah or any of the rest of them?
Well, I know they've bought back pieces before and everything. Was that so is this a story you want to tell?
Well, it's not paid off yet, which is why it's still sitting here.
Okay.
So um, there, there's um, I don't know if I should say anything at all.
No, no, don't. I
It,
mean,
it,
I had no idea what, that's I wasn't sure who at the end of the day, who the buyers were before you said it.
yeah,
No, but that's a beautiful piece though. My goodness.
I mean, it's got a full signature, a full Frank Frazetta signature. I mean, again, it's one of those pieces that the inking is just mind blowing.
Right.
But if I was going to let it go, I wanted it to go back to where it was going to be put on, on display where
Mm-hmm.
everybody could see it as opposed to just me.
Right.
I mean, sometimes I feel a little selfish about what I've got, but it's I this was the place I wanted it to go. So I approached them and they were like, yeah. So
Well, you did the right thing. I mean, definitely getting it back in their hands. They have a very nice museum, obviously down here, and only got I didn't get to see it. I went there during hurricane season, so everything was put in uh put in nice storage. So I didn't get to see any of the. I got to see one painting when Kazra and I were down there a couple of years ago. But wow, yeah, it's the Florida Frazetta Gallery. That's the one that the Frazetta girls and Sarah runs,
yeah,
uh, not the one up in PA.
no,
Wow. Well, that's incredible. That's yeah. Well, you can't keep see, you didn't take that one to the grave.
no. I mean, at one point, I think I had like 35, 36 Frazettas, you know, I, and you just can't keep them all. I mean, when there's just sitting in a flat file because I've got no more wall space anymore.
Mm,
It's nice to own valves, but they're huge. When the average panel is 8.5 by 11, and you've got three tiers, and I mean they take up a lot of wall space. And I actually like small drawings. I mean, I can put more of them up.
right.
So
Well, I mean, when you think about it, we really didn't look at a lot of published pieces in the set. I mean, you really just love seeing the artist, in a natural drawing environment, doing the things that they love to do best. And yeah, uh, Topper, honestly, I looked through your calf. I wasn't quite sure what direction this interview was going to go, but this was a lot of fun this evening. I think a lot of people appreciate the stories, and we probably only scratched the surface of of things that you can tell us. But don't when I end the stream, don't leave. I definitely want to talk to you about those Mario
okay,
pieces. I'm not going to tell my kids anything about this because I know that they never watch any of the interview shows I do. So. Uh, yeah, they'll be shocked when I tell them. But this was great. I'm so glad that the thing is, if I hadn't, it was like for about a week, I felt like every day I saw a comment from you on the Facebook group, and then I stumbled in your cafe, and I was like, it's like fate telling me I have to talk to you. So I'm so glad we did. This was so much fun.
well, thank you. I had a good time.
Well, as did I. Hope everybody in the chat did too. So thank you for hanging out with us tonight. I think we always had about 45, 50 people watching live. We appreciate you hanging out with us and getting to hear some of the many stories that you had, Topper. And I didn't know we had so much in common in with the Northeast Ohio stuff as well.
It really is a small world. I mean, I mean, I still talk to Mike Gustovich. He's still back there. I mean, I occasionally hear from Val, who's down in Texas. You know, Paul Glacey's up in I think he's still up in Seattle. I haven't
Uh,
talked to him in a couple of years.
yeah, he doesn't get out the shows anymore, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, tremendous time. I mean, and definitely, again, having the balls initially to ask if you could work with Val was a stroke of genius at the end of the day. I mean, my goodness.
I didn't know any better. It was just, you know, what the worst they can do is say no.
Right. Right. Well,
You
you've
know,
clearly not had a problem to ask for, questions and just like you said, getting to send your sketchbook around like you have, unbelievable. I mean, by the time I was doing this, nobody was doing that anymore. It just, you weren't getting your sketchbooks back, and everybody stopped mailing them around. But I always heard stories about the 80s and early 90s of sketchbooks going around. Just anyway, but boy, thank you, Topper, for doing this. We appreciate it, and everybody in the chat, I think, definitely learned a little bit and got to see some good art. And again, Topper's CAF Gallery is linked in the show description. So anybody watching this after the fact, please head over to Topper's Gallery, leave a few comments on his pieces and some likes, and add a few more views to that nude Chris Sanders piece, because 52,000 views just isn't enough, right? Uh, but again, thank you everybody for doing this, hanging out with us, and we'll see you again real soon. Have a great night.
good night.